In this video, I want to break down for you one of the best salespeople I have ever seen. His name is Chris Stowe from the YouTube channel, The Future, and I learned everything that I know about sales from him because I feel like his style really resonates with me. He does not pitch. He's not about that sales pitch. His style really reflects well with introverts and people who feel uncomfortable selling or uncomfortable talking about their service. And he does it in a way where the client does not feel like they're being pushed. The client makes the buying decision themselves. So I want to break down one of the role plays he did with someone he was training on sales and just what we can learn. I did this with a lot of the coaches that I'm working with. I was teaching them how to have these conversations using Chris's example. So this is an excerpt of that. So I hope you enjoy this. Let me know in the comments if this was useful. Hey everyone, today I want to give you an example of how to conduct the entire sales process. And we're going to look at the example of Chris Stowe. This is where I learned a lot of my sales skills from, the consultative approach, the approach where you don't pitch, you ask the client enough questions, and you get the sale. He is an absolute master at doing this, and I want to give you an example of where he was teaching someone to do this in a role play setting, and he demonstrates a lot of what we learned. Now, he helps graphic designers charge more for their service, but he teaches value-based pricing, which is exactly what we're doing, right? So I'm going to make the correlation between what he's teaching and our business as a coach, and you'll see a lot of interlinking things that we've learned as well. And I'll stop in track so you know, because he uses the same structure and format that we use for our sales calls, okay? So the premise here is he's teaching someone how to do it. He's pretending to be the seller, and the other person is pretending to be the buyer, and they're doing a live role play. So let's just play this, and I'll stop and I'll comment along the way.
But the best question is why? Okay? Give me a compliment. We're reversing roles. Mm-hmm. When I say give me a compliment, I'd say about webcoms.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your webcoms are amazing. I love the work that you did for us.
Thank you. I'm curious why you're calling me about webcoms.
Well, I mean, I've seen the work that you've done in the past, and I thought that you could really help us with our brand.
Remember how we start our conversation by saying something like, how did you find me? Or what made you reach out to me? This is the equivalent of that.
Right, but why do you specifically believe you need webcoms?
Well, we wanted to increase...
That's also a really good question, because a lot of people will come to you and say, I just need a workout plan, I just need a resume, I just need a cover letter. It's always important to ask why they want it and get to the root cause, because oftentimes clients don't really know what the extent of their problem is, and in effect, they don't really know what they want.
Engagement and...
You can clap. I mean, it's okay, guys, all right? That sounded like a problem. Engagement, go on.
Well, I feel like, we've had a very successful fiscal year in the past, but we've seen our sales going down, and we're not exactly sure why.
Sounds like a problem. Number 2, I wish I had my bell, my sound effects board. Ding! Okay, that's one problem. That's another problem, right?
We find it hard to make sure that the people who have bought our stuff in the past keep coming to us. I feel like it's very competitive out there in our particular...
Notice so far he's not digging very deep into a problem. He's trying to outline as many problems as there are.
Anything else?
Very, very important question. We always ask it, remember, from the coaching habit. Anything else? Is there anything else that we haven't considered? And what else is there that's bothering you? These are very important questions, because oftentimes the client will give you more information even though they thought they had stopped talking and they had told you everything.
I mean, we don't really know where to look. We just look through our metrics and we see it continuously going down, but we're not really sure where to look.
Okay, so you have no idea.
Yeah.
Who built your current webcom, so why don't you call them to do it now?
This is like, why this, why me, why now? Why do you need to work with me? Who did it before? Why can't you just work with them? So this is the art of disqualifying. This is to make sure that you have to work with me. You don't have alternatives. This is very useful because later on, the client won't be thinking of alternatives because you've already asked them that earlier on.
Well, we had someone in the past, but the partnership kind of deteriorated.
Why?
Well, they had moved and they weren't really responsive. And I mean, I feel like they have kind of pivoted to other clients, and we weren't really exactly in communication anymore. So communication kind of died off. we didn't feel like they had our best interests in mind.
Did they try to sell you something?
They
Were you
did.
talking to this girl named Jody? Who just like talks about herself?
She really disrespected us.
Oh my God! I hate designers who do that. Don't you?
I do too.
Darn it. Wouldn't life be better if designers didn't pitch all the time?
I know.
Gosh, I feel like I know you really well now. You know what I like to do? Here's what I heard.
This is where he's going to recap everything he heard. Very, very important. And you'll notice the client will feel, or in this example, the role-playing client will feel that you have understood their situation, and therefore you must have the solution.
You said that you're looking for a solution. There's an engagement issue. You see a decrease in sales, and that there's greater competition. And the last partner you had wasn't a partner at all. They're non-responsive. They had their own self-interests. They didn't have your best interests at heart, and they weren't good communicators. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, that's what.
Okay, so it sounds like we need to solve one of these problems. What's going to have the greatest impact on your business if we were to fix any one of these things?
Really important question. Remember when we talked about discussing the challenges and the needs with the client? Oftentimes they will just unload all of their challenges with us. I've got this problem, that problem, this problem. How do you narrow it down? Again, the book, The Coaching Habit, talks about it. What's the real problem for you here? Or what would have the biggest impact? What could we work on? What could we solve right now that would have the biggest impact on your fitness, your job search, your career clarity, whatever it might be? So to narrow it down from a lot of challenges to the main ones, that's a really good question to ask.
What do you think?
Engagement.
Engagement. Okay, so what kind of engagement are you having right now? It's
400K.
So you have 400,000 impressions a month.
This is the current situation. Where are we now?
Yes, a month.
Okay. So what would you like it to be?
I wanted to keep continuing, so we thought we were gonna hit 600,000.
Okay, so your goal is to increase it to 600,000. And if you were able to
Notice this is where the quantification begins.
do this consistently, what would that mean to your business?
We would get more sales.
Like how much more?
40,000 more in profits.
Okay, so you would increase sales by 40K per month. Okay, so if we were able to hit this, which is an increase of 200,000 impressions, we could equal that. Is that right?
Yeah.
It sounds to me like you have a marketing problem. Is that right?
Notice how he's not telling them what to do. He's not giving them advice. This is a major, major thing to consider. Oftentimes, this is where we're like, oh, obviously your resume is a problem. We have to fix your resume, or obviously your workout's a problem, or whatever it might be. In this case, he hasn't given advice. He says, maybe your marketing isn't the problem. Maybe this is the problem. What do you think? He's involving the client in the discussion. If they can feel like they're making the decision themselves, they're going to trust their judgment a lot more. So notice, no advice, but asking smart questions to make the client think.
I guess so. I would trust
Doesn't
your
it?
judgment.
It's like, you came in here for webcoms. Maybe there's nothing wrong with the webcoms. Maybe it's a marketing issue. What do you think?
This is how you build value, because you're showing the client how to think. You're showing them something they didn't previously consider, and that is how they will trust that you're an expert. You don't need to pitch about how great you are, how you've done this before, how you have the solution, none of that stuff. Just show them you understand their situation and make them think.
Yes.
Okay. So we do this, and I say, well, gosh, if I multiply this out over a year, what would that equal? 480,000? So you would have a net gain of $480,000 in gross sales if we could just fix the marketing problem.
Yeah.
Now you see, this is what he's doing. He's creating a giant value. He upped the numbers over a year. You could do this over 2 years about how much value you're getting. So for example, if you're a career coach, how much do you want to make in your salary? Okay, are you going to stay in that job for the next few years? Wait, 2 years? Okay, so that's 120,000 right there. If it's a $60,000 salary, you will keep upping this number, increase the value. So by the time you talk about price, the price seems really small.
What would be a good amount of money, something that feels fair to you and to me, to spend against this number to make this happen for you? She sees in the back already.
10.
Now this is asking the client for their budget. Sometimes I've noticed with coaching clients, you ask them, so how much would you like to spend to fix this problem? A lot of times people don't really know how much something like this goes for, and they feel a little restrictive or a little restrained about giving you a number because they feel whatever number they throw out there it might not land, which is why I recommend giving them a range at this stage. So if you say 480,000, usually when I'm working with people, it's between 2,000 and 3,000. Does that sound unreasonable to you? And of course, because of the logic you've showed them, 480,000 or 200,000 in your case compared to 2,000, it does not sound like a lot of money. Now, in her case, what's going to happen is he gave her a giant value and he asked her what her budget is, because a lot of times when you're making a proposal for design firms, you ask them like, what kind of budget are you working with? So how much would you like to spend? And she says
1,000.
10,000? You would spend 10,000 to make 480,000?
this is what I want to show you as well. So he's not telling them 10,000 isn't a lot of money. He's just pointing out the logic. Does it sound like a proportionate amount of money to spend 10,000 to make $480,000? Does that sound like a proportionate amount? So for example, if someone says, I only want to spend $500 on coaching, and you tell them the value of what you're offering is 480,000, does that sound like a proportionate amount to spend $500 for a $200,000 result? It doesn't, right? And most people will understand that.
It's valuable.
That's valuable? That's like less than, well, I don't know, what percentage is that? I think 10%, 10% of this would be 48K. Right? Now you're saying to me, you're spending a fifth of that. So you're like 2.5%. If you can make it
This is a very good point. So the client wants to spend 2.5% to solve the rest of the 97.5%. What kind of business offers that kind of return, right?
today of 2.5% to get this kind of return, we're in the wrong business. Tell me your secret. Could it be that your previous vendor was undervalued, didn't have clarity on the problem because you self-diagnosed and paid too little to solve a big problem? You know, I'm really into business philosophy. Do you know who Jim Rohn is? He really believes in this. Like, do not spend a small effort for a big result.
I use this exact line in my calls, and it is phenomenally. It really, really helps the client understand why they shouldn't spend less money trying to solve a big problem.
And don't spend a big effort for a small result. Is this a big effort for your company? Oh, I mean, a big result for your company?
Yes.
It is. And you want to spend a small effort. Is that consistent with the way you do your business?
No.
So again, he's not telling them, he's just asking them questions. So it sounds like you want a valuation of 480,000, or you want to solve this problem that's worth this much to you, but you only want to spend this much. Help me understand that. You're trying to understand that. You're trying to be inquisitive about it. You're not trying to belittle them. Know the difference. You're not arguing. You're just asking them questions and showing them the hole in their logic.
It isn't. So why would we do that now?
I've never seen it like that before. I didn't realize that we could be making this much.
Right. So I think as a shrewd business person, which I recognize you as being, spending 48,000 to get 480 is a bargain. Here's the good news. I won't even charge you 48. I'll charge you 40. How's that?
That sounds amazing.
Let's do business. I'll send over contracts later today. Is that okay?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Fantastic. All right.
That's how you do it. So the only reason that she signed on was because he asked really smart questions. He actually diagnosed the real problem. She came in asking, I just want webcoms, right? She didn't even know what the problem was, why she wanted webcoms, or the finer details of webcoms. I don't even know what webcom is, but I'm assuming it's something designers do. And what he was able to do really well was quantify her desired future state. So if she's making this much right now and she wants to get to this point, in a year, what's that going to look like? What is the value of what you provide? So this could be either the value of their pain point, the value of the problem they're trying to solve, or the value of the solution you're creating. So people will run away from pain more than they will run towards gain, which is why we tend to value the pain point as well. So if someone's been looking for a job for 6 months, we say, okay, you've missed out on 6 months of income, because we're trying to value the pain, the loss that they've incurred. And then the value becomes, okay, if you got rid of all the frustration of applying online every single day, or if you got rid of trying to figure out the right workout plan for you, what's that going to be worth to you? Hypothetically, you're a billionaire, you have all the money. What's that worth to you? And then they'll give you an amount, and that's the value you provide. So when you combine the value with the pain points and you come up with a giant number, and then you show them the price, The perspective shift makes your price seem very, very cheap. Guys, that's how you talk about your pricing in a value-based pricing model. I hope this helped you out. Let me know if it did. Notice how Chris does a few things so well. His tonality is so supportive. He's not combating with the client. He's not arguing with the client. He's on the client's side. He's like the trusted advisor for the client. He's helping them make a decision. He's asking them smart questions instead of pitching his service. Smart questions to help the client understand what they truly need and whether they need what they thought they did. Chris is an absolute master of doing this. I will link his channel below. I have learned so much from the Futur, and I'm not even a designer, right? And I'm a coach, and I work with other coaches, and I help other coaches start their business off the ground. More information about that in the description. Highly recommend checking Chris out. I could not recommend him more. So I hope you enjoyed this breakdown. If you did, let me know in the comments, and I will see you in the next one.